What do you think about her tweets?
This is the left 101. When it doesn't go my way, it's racist, and any black man or woman involved in the process who didn't agree with them, obviously they're irrelevant. So that was the diss. Just go wah. Just complain. I mean, that's what children do. They never can accept a decision. And affirmative action the case was even being brought up because Asian Americans felt that they were not getting a fair opportunity. So rich white people didn't have nothing.
You're gonna love this, because the universe just dropped a crossover no one saw coming, but somehow everyone needed. Picture it. AOC storms in, full of fire, energy blazing, ready to deliver her big message. For a second, it's all hers. Until Tyrus walks in, a one-man wrecking crew of sarcasm. And just like that, her serious moment flips into a comedy roast so sharp it should have come with a warning. What happened next? Pure chaos. Like a scene out of a movie.
You don't have anything to talk about in terms of merit. You just blame it on rich white people. And it's been a cushion that's been allowed in this country for a long time. And now as you see more, that's the new pillow. My pillow's got nothing on the new pillow of blame rich white people, because you can rest your head on it in any argument. Bring any argument up with me. Anything. Ask me any question. How are the Knicks doing this year? Well, why am I supposed to know that? I'm not a rich white person. See what I'm saying?
If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe, because it helps more than most people realize. Politics runs on big, flashy moments, the kind where someone steps up, throws their hands in the air, and convinces supporters they're watching history unfold in real time. And nobody leans into that performance more than AOC. She never just walks into a room. She charges in with full intensity, like she's about to deliver a State of the Union, even when she's doing something as simple as ordering a coffee.
Unaffected or are completely out of touch of everything. This is a big country. Some people, regardless of high inflation, are still gonna fly to go. It has nothing to do with lower class Americans who are struggling to pay bills, or people just make their decisions. It's just, they're so out of touch. And they worry about other things, the wrong things, like pardons and perceptions and how they're looked at. Instead of just shutting up, step out of your little bubble, maybe close the safe spaces, walk out on this crunchy green stuff called grass, and get involved in the world and see that
every word AOC speaks is dripping with drama, delivered like someone warning the world that disaster is minutes away. Each line hits like an alarm. Every pause is stretched to make the moment feel monumental, as if the entire world is hanging on her every word. But this time, she walked into a scene she couldn't control. The spotlight didn't stay on her. It slowly, unmistakably shifted to the true force in the room.
No, of course they didn't read the decision. And again, these are all successful men and women of color who all have educations, who are sitting on top of the mountain calling foul. This is just the par for the course. It is just, what is the narrative? Oh, that's the way we're going with it? But it was nice to see white men get a break. You know what? Because you've had a rough year. They started blaming some stuff on white women. So you guys get a little bit of the feel.
Tyrus. And once that shift happened, the spotlight never returned. Tyrus, the guy who can cut through heavy political tension without breaking a sweat. No speeches, no yelling. Just a look, a pause, and a line delivered so perfectly it lands every single time.
Fastest, and we have fan mail, and I just can't listen to those Nate Silvers and these Saliza people just bites into this glorious show. AOC. What? She's kind of fun in a silly but earnest, wrong but adorable way. She's like your daughter when she comes back from her first year at Brown, full of half-baked, half opinions, in need of some gentle, patient deprogramming. But people have to realize new faces doesn't mean new ideas.
And AOC didn't see any of it coming, not for a second. Which is surprising, because a seasoned politician should know better than to push too hard when a master of sarcasm is lurking nearby like a calm, patient storm. Instead, she charged in full force, fully convinced the crowd would leave inspired, enlightened, and maybe even talking about her brilliance on the way out. She spoke as if the outcome was already decided, as if applause was guaranteed, as if her message alone could lock the moment in her favor. Armed with statistics, carefully timed pauses, and that familiar expression that silently says, "I've figured it all out," she leaned into every line with complete certainty. Every gesture, every pause, every glance was designed to command attention. But behind her, the stage was already set for a comedic collapse, and she had no clue it was coming. She built her speech like a superhero origin story, filled with looming disasters, widening gaps, and unstoppable corporate greed. Delivered in grand cinematic strokes, every issue sounded like the fate of humanity was at stake. As always, she put herself front and center, the fearless hero standing tall against unseen villains lurking just out of sight. If you listened closely, you could almost hear dramatic theme music swelling with every movement. Every gesture was perfectly timed.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she responded to this ruling on Twitter as well. She says, if the Supreme Court was serious about their ridiculous color blindness claims, they would have abolished legacy admissions, aka affirmative action for the privileged. 70% of Harvard's legacy applicants are white. SCOTUS didn't touch that, which would have impacted them and their patrons. Does she have a point there?
She used the word ludicrous. That was cool. That was new. But again, it's the same argument. No matter what you're doing, that it's all white people's fault, and it's just such a great talking point, to the point where it's just literally, if it was a dying horse, would say, please.
She lifted her hand like destiny itself had tapped her shoulder. Yet the audience responded with polite, mechanical applause, the kind given out of obligation, not excitement. No thunderous cheers, no real energy. Just courtesy claps from people congratulating themselves for showing up. Still, she scanned the room like she'd earned a standing ovation, completely missing the obvious. Oversized performances leave openings. And that empty space, that's where Tyrus thrives. He doesn't need binders of data or long-winded metaphors. He doesn't have to predict the end of the world to hold attention. His weapon is faster, sharper, and deadlier in the moment. Raw, perfectly timed humor. While AOC stacked paragraph after paragraph like she was building a tower ready to wobble, Tyrus sat back with the calm confidence of someone waiting to knock it down with a single, flawless tap. He leaned into the microphone like it was his closest ally, pacing the stage with the deliberate, serious stride politicians love, hitting every pause as if chasing the perfect reaction. Each pause seemed calculated, almost daring the room to erupt in applause. Instead, the crowd offered awkward, half-hearted claps, unsure if he was finished or just pausing for effect. A polite reaction that filled the silence but carried more discomfort than support. The harder AOC pushed her intensity, the more she exposed herself, because the very force she relied on was creating the perfect opening for something sharper to cut through. And that moment was coming fast, delivered not by speeches or statistics, but by the kind of humor only Tyrus could unleash.
Introduced a fresh idea or issue in her life. The reason why she gets along with Bernie is because she's like an 80-year-old leftist in a used bookstore. I mean, she may look fresh, but she's as stale as an abandoned futon on the street. It's like, I listened to her, I go, I heard that at Berkeley in 1983. So their problem is, and the reason why they don't have any ideas is they operate on...
The irony? AOC thrives on control, building her entire presence around shaping the narrative exactly how she wants it. She sets the pace, chooses the tone, and expects the audience to follow along without question. Every moment is carefully managed. Every pause is designed to steer reactions. Every word is delivered with the confidence that attention will never wander. But humor doesn't follow rules. It doesn't care about structure, timing, or dramatic buildup. It hits fast, slicing right through the performance. Once laughter fills the room, the serious atmosphere she depends on crumbles instantly. And there was Tyrus, calm, patient, armed only with sharp timing and instinct, ready to knock the first brick loose and watch the entire performance tumble. The tension wasn't because her words were moving people. It was because everyone could feel the turn coming. Moments like this prove that embarrassment doesn't always arrive with shouting or confrontation. Sometimes it sneaks in quietly, perfectly timed, with a simple observation that exposes just how fragile the whole act really is. And that's Tyrus's territory. He doesn't storm in with anger or drown the room in outrage. He dismantles it all with precision, letting sharp-edged humor land clean and decisive. The stage couldn't have been set better. AOC was fully locked into drama mode, riding the momentum of her own performance, completely unaware that control was slipping away, piece by piece.
She is taking a break from doing nothing to get into a beef with the Twitter chief. On Tuesday, she tweeted, LMAO at a billionaire earnestly trying to sell people on the idea that free speech is actually an $8 a month subscription plan. That's a reference to Musk's plan to charge people $8 a month for verified blue checkmark status. But he hit back tweeting, your feedback is appreciated. Now pay $8.
The applause had faded into soft, polite taps. Eye rolls were piling up faster than her talking points, and Tyrus sat there, glowing with anticipation, wearing that unmistakable look of someone who knows his moment is coming. When he finally leaned forward, the energy in the room flipped instantly, like someone had thrown a switch. Here's the twist that made it even sharper. AOC wasn't even there to face him. Roasting someone directly is one thing, but roasting them in absentia, with that calm, playful edge that makes people laugh and nod at the same time, that's a whole different level of timing. And Tyrus nailed it. He treated her carefully staged political performance not like a serious movement, but like a late-night improv sketch that had run way too long. His opening jab landed clean and simple. The idea that AOC can't enter any room without instantly turning it into a dramatic lecture about civilization being seconds away from collapse. Tyrus joked she probably rehearses her speeches in the mirror before brushing her teeth, arms flying in every direction while statistics swirl around her.
Says AOC has 61% approval ratings
Yes.
for Democrats, right? The highest of any Democrat unless they've been elected president. So if your new brand ambassador is going to be AOC, then I think it's more than just...
Leaving her toothbrush completely overwhelmed by the chaos. That single image alone was enough to crack her carefully constructed stage presence. From there, he went straight for her favorite habit, those heavy, dramatic metaphors she leans on, dismantling them with smooth, deliberate humor. If she spills a glass of water, he joked, it's suddenly undeniable proof of rising sea levels. If her ride is late, it must be corporate greed targeting society. And if her phone battery dips below 20%, clearly capitalism is failing humanity in real time. One by one, her dramatic comparisons stopped feeling powerful and started sounding exaggerated, like notes pulled from an overworked drama student's notebook. According to Tyrus, she could explain a simple lunch order and still make it sound like the solution to all human suffering. Avocado toast becomes a symbol of generational struggle. That's what made the moment hit so hard. He didn't exaggerate her style, he simply mirrored it, exposing how her constant urgency turns ordinary moments into political crusades, until all that seriousness collapses into something impossible to take seriously.
Explains it. They're not meant for you, right? But then you have to ask, okay, then what is this debt forgiveness? Who is it meant for? And when you look at the data, it's upper, white, middle-class, liberal women. This ain't welfare, right? These are well-to-do people. It's a bribe for Democrats on the backs of plumbers, truckers, and everyone else who actually does a real job, unlike me. AOC is the symbol of the entitled sponge. She complains about student loans.
What once looked like strong leadership suddenly came across as pure melodrama. And once that shift hits, there's no going back. The tone changed, the weight disappeared, the seriousness she relied on began unraveling in real time. Tyrus didn't stop at her speeches. He moved straight to her online habits, highlighting how AOC treats social media like her personal presidential podium. Every post, every message, every live stream carries that same urgent tone, as if the fate of the nation hinges on hitting send at precisely the right moment. He joked that if the Wi-Fi ever went out in Washington, she'd declare it the greatest threat to democracy in modern history.
She owns a French bulldog. Thanks to Cat Temp, I know everything about French bulldogs. And one thing I know,
I got a French
they are so expensive.
I got
They're
mine
more
for free.
expensive than any college tuition. That you got to take care of them. They're adorable dogs. But she owns a Tesla and she owns a French bulldog. And she wants you or your dad, the electrician, to forgive her student loan. That's BS. Turn in the Tesla, sell the dog.
Typing in all caps about conspiracies just because an Instagram live froze for a few seconds. With that image burned into everyone's mind, the weight of her message dissolved into pure absurdity, turning her from a congresswoman leading a movement into a dramatic narrator of everyday inconveniences. But Tyrus wasn't done. Not even close. He saved one of his sharpest observations for the contradiction that follows her everywhere. Non-stop warnings about disaster paired with a perfectly curated, polished lifestyle. After all, nothing sells the idea that the world is burning quite like delivering it head to toe in designer perfection. Tyrus zeroed in on the irony. For someone who constantly paints capitalism as the ultimate villain, AOC moves through it with remarkable ease. That point hit hard because it rang uncomfortably true. The sarcasm almost wrote itself as he laid it out. His sharpest strike came when he compared listening to her speeches to being trapped in a lecture hall where the professor lost the syllabus weeks ago and still refuses to stop talking. You have no idea where the lesson even began.
I mean, $80 per theater. I mean, I made $80 in a theater and there wasn't even a movie playing.
Wow. What do you mean?
I don't know. You know, it's no surprise. Who would go see a movie that's the opposite of entertaining? There's nothing entertaining about that. Michael Moore's colonoscopy is more entertaining than that because there's probably more twists. But it does show you how great it is to be a progressive in a liberal biased culture. She really doesn't do her job, right? She makes movies, she goes to galas, she sits for glossy butt-kissing interviews in GQ. And
You have no clue where it's headed, yet somehow you're expected to take neat, organized notes as if it all connects perfectly. That comparison captured her speaking style in one stroke: loud, winding, dramatic, and exhausting to sit through. The timing made it even worse for her. She wasn't there to respond, interrupt, or push back. With no reaction to break the rhythm, every punchline landed harder, lingered longer, and echoed through the room. Tyrus didn't need charts, stats, or heated debate points. His sarcasm alone flipped the mood and took complete control of the moment. By the time he finished, AOC's carefully polished image as an untouchable force had completely unraveled, turning into something closer to a running joke that only grew funnier the longer people thought about it. Every exaggerated gesture, every dramatic pause, and every warning about the world on the brink suddenly became punchlines instead of applause. What made it truly devastating wasn't yelling or confrontation. It was the quiet, insidious shift in perspective. Her confidence wasn't attacked directly, it was reframed. What once read as authority and conviction now looked like performance and excess. Once the audience saw her that way, there was no going back. The transformation was instant, the reaction undeniable, and the impact lingered long after the moment ended. Sometimes the sharpest takedowns don't explode, they quietly settle in.